Sometimes it's the little things that set me off. And my feeling is that if you are going to be doing mathematics on a computer, then the program that you use should follow the basic rules of algebra. So we're going to look at a very simple problem, and that is -5 squared. And the question is, what is the answer to this? If you're entering on a computer, then you may have to write it out as a line like -5 caret 2, and that's done in Mathematica, it's done in MATLAB, it's done in Excel. That's how you write it. In Python, instead of the caret, you have a double asterisk, but it's the same idea, -5 squared. And when asked what the answer should be, people think perhaps it's -25 or maybe it's +25. But there's a right answer. So that right answer comes from elementary school or middle school math and the idea of order of operations, and that is PEMDAS, parentheses, exponential, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. PEMDAS says, what order should you do these operations? So in something like -5 squared, the exponential takes precedence over the minus sign, and so you get a negative number. We can see that this is the right answer in a way by just adding 0. So 0 minus 5 squared, right, clearly has to be negative. So what happens when we actually go and try it out in these various platforms? So I go into Python, -5 squared gives me -25. I go into MATLAB or Octave, -5 squared gives me -25. I go into Google, -5 squared gives me -25. Mathematica, -5 squared gives me -25. And then I do it in Excel and it gives me +25. Now that's really strange, or at least when I first saw it, I thought this was really weird. And what's even stranger is if you do 0 minus 5 squared, you get -25. So by adding 0, you change the answer, which mathematically makes no sense. So what's going on here? Well, technically what's going on is that in computer theory, there is the idea of operators. So you have the say addition. So 2 plus 2, plus is an operator and operates on two objects, so one on the left and one on the right. So 3 plus 2 is 5. We have the 3 and the 2, and so these are binary operators. So binary operators take 2. Exponential takes 2. You have the 5 squared. You have 5 and the 2. Right? In computer theory, there is a unary minus, meaning that is a minus sign that takes only one number, and this is to specify negative numbers, so like -5. Internally to the computer is actually stored differently than 0 minus 5. So -5 is different than 0 minus 5 internally to the computer and is handled somewhat differently. And the rules in computer theory is that unary minus trumps the exponential operator, and so it happens first. So they do the -5, bind that, and then square that, and you get +25. Unfortunately, no one really cares what the computer's thinking. What you're trying to do is solve math problems, and if it doesn't follow the basic laws of algebra, you're going to run into problems. And in fact, that's how it came up. A student was doing a calculation where I was expecting a -x squared to be a negative number, something and I was actually looking at the normal distribution, which has an exponential of -x squared, and so that should be always less than 1, and this thing was blowing up and being huge, and that was because the -x squared part of it was being a positive number. So one can solve this, obviously, with parentheses, but parentheses make any equation less clear if they're not needed. That's why we have order of operations. So this is just a little bit of a rant. There's no real solution in Excel other than just use parentheses, but knowing that that's the case. But it bothers me that here we have a tool that is often used for mathematics where it doesn't do some basic algebra correctly. And it also makes me wonder, are there any other cases where Excel is doing math incorrectly, and I'm just not aware of it. I mean, I never would have thought of this one because it seems so basic, but maybe there's another problem and I don't really know. Hope this helps you kind of think about these sorts of platforms and calculations a little bit differently, and have a nice day.